What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Free China Pod. How's it going, buddy?
The world is
Doom,
Censor that.
gloom.
I guess we'll just start out hot. The Taliban have taken over, I think, 2/3 of Afghanistan so far. What you think about
Is
that?
it 2/3? I heard it was. I heard there was a bunch of like capitals that they took, but
About 2/3 of the territorial area that's claimed by Afghanistan total.
it's not good. I don't want the Taliban to be in power, but I mean, what are you gonna do?
That's my question. What
Dude.
should the United States do for a bleeding heart liberal like yourself? An isolationist, 1920s.
Don't use that fucking slur on me. I resent that. I'm not an isolationist. I'm an American first progressive. Help the government if they need help. If we can help, funding them, then do that. But other than that, I don't know. It sucks. It's a really shitty situation, but I don't want to be like it's not our problem, but a little bit it's like not our problem.
It's definitely our problem because we created the government and we trained the army, and then
Right. But
it means we suck at everything we do.
we
We sucked at creating the government, we sucked at forming peace, and we sucked at creating an army. So this pretty much
That's-
100% reflects
that's-
our abilities.
that's certainly true, but
not 100%. 50.
I don't know if yeah, that's why I would have said we should have pulled out of that war and never gone in the first place, but we definitely should have pulled out earlier.
Really?
We didn't accomplish anything. I mean, we were there for like 20 fucking years and we didn't do anything. So
I'm surprised there are any Taliban left, honestly. Like, I think the biggest factor in this is Pakistan, because Pakistan never gave up trying to influence Afghanistan and trying to basically control the government there and blackmail the United States.
Mm.
They funneled in money and people, and they've helped arms get into the country for the better part of, let's say, since Afghanistan's like post-Soviet invasion independence.
yeah, and now thankfully there are more bad actors, including China, that are getting involved.
Anyway, they've interfered, and the Afghan government has already basically made it clear that they blame the Pakistani government for not holding the Taliban to account, because the Taliban were supposed to be in peace talks to basically co-govern a democratic government, and they're just like, fuck that, we're just going to use the military and all the money and soldiers and guns that Pakistan sent us to take over the country. So.
Well, and like I said, now China as well.
Yeah.
I would like to say that
Well, China, I don't know if they're sending material resources.
right, but they're having talks. I mean, they sent
Which is shameful.
They sent a delegation to Beijing, so that is. I would say what's also shameful is your podcast etiquette, answering cell phone calls. I'm just kidding.
You're right. You caught me.
Gotcha, bitch. Yeah, it's shameful. I think it's a bad situation, but
You know, the United States is still doing airstrikes in Afghanistan against Taliban positions.
there are also still like contractors there, from what I've heard. So
What's interesting is that I don't know. I assume that the difficulty with a lot of these areas is that the Taliban, because they never really left, and because they are kind of more of a social organization than like a political party / militia, that it's very easy for them to hide. That they just, they don't like have bases or communication centers. They're just in people's homes, which makes it really difficult to weed them out. However, as they've been taking over, there's been a huge influx of refugees into Kabul, which makes it seem like even the countryside is a little bit wary of them taking control. So I noticed since they've been flooding the capitals, there's been like basically like a giant refugee camp in like public parks all over Kabul. So I'm not sure how deeply embedded they are right now, and I'd be interested to hear more about that.
I'm sure they're embedded. I think some positive things that could come out of the U.S. Well, the U.S. obviously, like you said, is still doing airstrikes, so that's still going to radicalize some people. But I think also the fact that there was like more freedom, slightly more freedom. It's still not great, but there was more freedom for like women and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Once you taste that freedom, it is much harder to make people go back. It's not saying that it's going to be enough.
Well,
but
the Taliban are saying that they're going to liberalize. They're going to be like,
yeah.
yes, of course, women can go to.
Yeah, if you believe that shit,
I kind of do.
I have a bridge to fucking sell you.
I kind
No
of do,
way,
because
man.
there's Islamic education for women in lots of Muslim countries around the world. Like the Taliban was just basically stuck in the medieval era. So that's not to say that they're completely unable to reform. I'm not pro-Taliban at all, and I think that they should be crushed with America's fist. But at the same time, I don't think that there's no possibility that they could reform, especially if there's a lot of social pressure against them. But
it's not impossible, but I would say I'm less than hopeful.
women will definitely have a more subjugated role. But the notion that they're gonna just kill any woman who studies at university or something like that, I think,
Maybe not,
yeah.
but I don't think it. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be some liberal democracy under
Certainly
the
not.
Taliban.
And if I was a woman there, I would be scared out of my mind.
No kidding. I mean, yeah. Even under U.S. occupation, I would have been horrified. But like, yeah, especially with the potential of the Taliban leading the government, that's even more frightening.
Hashtag. You have to censor that. Sorry.
Stupid ass. Stupid ass. Well, I mean, we haven't potted for a little while, so we basically missed the Olympics. The Olympics are over now.
I thought we didn't pod because of the Olympics.
Yeah, we are doing a boycott of the Olympics.
Yeah, exactly. We're doing a boycott, and also because of the, let's say, holiday period in Taiwan.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it out loud.
Yeah, we have to be careful with
We have to be very careful.
our good brothers. Yeah, but anyway, I mean, obviously, we should cancel the Olympics. It's a joke. IOC is incredibly corrupt, but Taiwan did pretty well and probably garnered at least slight international recognition for that. I mean,
the
they
Free
did pretty
China
well.
Olympics.
The Free China Olympics. We'll hold them in our alleyway. We'll have, can you swim across Kaohsiung Harbor? Can you
Oh, hell yes, brother.
mountain climbing at Sosan?
Pogo sticks. Skateboarding.
Rollerblading down the twisty roadways here, trying to avoid the gravel and potholes. Yeah, there's a lot of
Track.
really fun sports we could do. Yacht racing in the harbor.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be cool.
Scooter stunts. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff. But anyway, I had all to say. Also, it's hilarious how China kept complaining about how the U.S. was augmenting its medal totals, even though there's no actual. I mean, most of the world does it via gold medals, right? But there's actually no official way to count them. That being said, I think it did seem a little bit petty when the U.S. was like, we're number one, even though they had way less medals, gold medals than China, though they did have the most medals overall. However, at the very end of the Olympics, the U.S. overtook China in gold medals as well, and then China changes their medal totals to include Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan, which is the most ridiculous nonsense I've ever seen. It's like it's
With those three, were they over?
yeah, they
How
were
about
like
without Taiwan?
1 or 2 over. I don't think I'm not sure.
Well, without Taiwan, if it's 1 or 2, then without Taiwan, they would.
I don't think they were. I have to look at the exact numbers, but regardless, they weren't over. And that's like if the U.S. claimed like the Philippines in their fucking totals or something.
For Taiwan, yeah, but for not including Taiwan, for like territories, it would be like if they included
Puerto
Virgin
Rico
Islands,
or yeah, exactly.
American Samoa.
It's idiotic, and I said this to you before off pod. I don't think that they give Hong Kong money. Macau, I'm not sure for their Olympics teams, but the U.S. definitely gives those territories money.
Did you check it?
I didn't check it, but okay, I shouldn't say definitely. I think. So we'll double check that. But regardless, it's dumb. It's silliness. But oh well. It's also the Olympics, so no one should really care that much.
Yeah, China's been in the news a lot lately with their new regulation of the financial industry. They're trying to crush all those oligarchs.
Yeah.
What else? They're trying to cut down the cost of marriage. Those are, I think, not necessarily negative steps, but they've also had major outbreaks. Have you seen that recently?
Yeah, there's been
All over now.
There's been a lot of especially with it's the Delta variant mostly.
And what they said
I'm
is it's tied to places playing mahjong too.
Huh.
It's just like Taiwan.
It's so dumb, man. Like the amount of mahjong questions I hear because I watch the presser every day, and for anyone that's like,
Does mahjong cause COVID?
they're just like, can we please play mahjong? It's just like, calm down. Like, play it on your cell phone or something. Like, mahjong is really interesting, and I would love to learn how to play it.
I think
I
there's
like to play
increasing
cards.
evidence that there's a major source of outbreak coming from mahjong. Maybe the pieces themselves.
Mahjong tiles may, in fact, contain COVID.
Well, I mean, they've proven that 5G may cause it, right? Why not mahjong?
We should probably ask Fauci. Fauci, if I if I don't wear my mask and donate it to someone because some doctor who lacks PPE because the U.S. was totally unprepared for this, when I play mahjong, will I be okay? Speaking of small,
Go ask my good friend Cuomo.
yeah, I was gonna say, speaking of small, nasty, cowardly Italian men.
Wait, why small?
Oh, Fauci's really small.
What do you mean small?
Short.
Wow, I didn't know you'd go there, Jordan.
But anyway, Cuomo
How
just
tall is
resigned. What's your guess? What's your guess on how tall Cuomo is?
5'8.5".
Yeah, I was gonna go with 5'7.5". Oh no, he's 180 centimeters. That's not short.
I don't believe it. Fake news.
Fake news. He's wearing elevated shoes, folks. He goes out there with his big platform boots like he's going to a discotheque.
How about Fauci?
Fauci, I think Fauci is 5'7".
Anthony Fauci.
Yeah, he is 5'7", or 170 centimeters for everyone who's not in the U.S. It's not incredibly short. I'm just being petty because I don't like the guy, and I think he's
Responsible for the deaths of millions of Americans.
That's correct. That's correct, my friend. But anyway, Cuomo's gone, so that's happy news. He's kind of a thug.
I'm not happy he's dead, but
He's not dead.
well, you said gone.
Okay, yeah. He's out of office. All right. So I'm happy he's out of office. I don't like him. I think they should do Chris Cuomo next and get him out of his position at
Let's
CNN.
do all the Cuomos.
Let's get all these Cuomos out of office. Yeah, it's just a really dumb situation.
I didn't like him because he was a terrible politician who didn't care much about
Me
human
too.
lives.
Yeah, me too.
I think this is I think the fact that he got like Me Too'd in like 2021, like a year and a half after the allegations came out, it's like weird fucking timing.
I think some of them are more recent, but I mean, yeah. But the thing is,
it was just because that report.
Well, it takes a long time to like document these things, and clearly they didn't investigate them until just recently.
I think a lot of the people didn't come forward until last year,
Yeah,
right?
that's how it usually works. Usually, it takes one person to stand up and like be like brave enough to speak out about it. And these are obviously still just allegations, so hopefully there's like an actual investigation. I don't know if it's already over the statute of limitations, but I think even aside from that, people should not forget that he killed a ton of old people by stuffing them in COVID-filled nursing homes, and he should be tried and convicted for that.
Oh yes.
Bye-bye, Cuomo.
He can fucking share a cell with Jack Dorsey in Guantanamo.
We gotta have a Guantanamo song we can play. A Guantanamo drop.
I don't know. Want to be associated with Guantanamo. It's not a good look.
We were talking about China a little bit ago, and I'm currently writing a piece on Lithuania and their relationship with Taiwan now, and how it's caused a lot of Chinese outrage, and how Beijing is very angry because basically they decided to have some economic relations to establish a representative office, and to call it Taiwan was another big thing. They didn't call it like the Taipei Economic Resource Office or whatever nonsense they usually use. They call it like the Taiwan office. So that obviously angered Beijing, as they always get pissed off about Taiwanese people like breathing and existing. So they pulled out their ambassador, and they demanded that Lithuania also pull out their ambassador. So
this is a big step.
It is a big step, and part of the thing that I'm talking about in the piece is how, with this increased like recognition and actually using Taiwan's name, Lithuania actually had like a somewhat similar story. I mean, the situations are obviously somewhat different, but after they were the first country to leave the Soviet Union and declare independence, and after they left, a lot of people were wary about recognizing them because they were worried about pushback from the Kremlin. But Iceland actually stood up, because Iceland's so far removed from their sphere of influence that they basically stood up and said, like, we'll recognize you. And basically, I'm just pontificating on whether or not this sort of action, like Lithuania, who is not super connected to China economically, and obviously now they don't even have an ambassador there, if they could be kind of the start of the snowball to roll to get more international recognition for Taiwan.
I mean, it depends on how many other countries who also have limited economic ties with China are willing to rock the boat.
That's exactly right.
Lithuania, like I said before, is not on the podcast, but to you, is a weird case, because they, like you said, they were one of the first to drop out of the Soviet Union, and even now, like they have lots of issues with the current borders of Russia, and they're basically terrified of an invasion. So they are very, let's say, anti-authoritarian in their like political stances. And,
well, and they have a history of being like ruled by dictators. I mean, Germany, Nazi Germany, including, and then the Soviet Union, which basically colonized them. And yeah, right now they have. I mean, Russian territory is literally right next to them.
Yeah. So yeah, I know. I've seen videos of their defense force. Is it them or Estonia? Anyway, they're all quite frightened.
Yeah.
They had a big Jewish population there historically. It was one of the centers of their capital is Vilnius, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And yeah, there's a lot of Jewish history there.
They're also like one of the few remaining states that uses a Baltic language.
Probably. Well, I mean, there's not that many Baltic languages to begin with. Estonia, right?
Yeah.
Latvia, Lithuania.
There's not many that use it like as their official language, so I don't know. It's interesting.
Lithuania is. I'd like to visit. I'd like to visit all the Baltic states. My mom went probably like 15 years ago, and I was slightly jealous then, and I'm still jealous now.
Once we get all this COVID nonsense over with, hopefully we can do a nice little trip there.
Yeah, I remember the first time I saw it was when I was a teenager. It showed up in one of the original Ghost Recon games.
Oh, nice.
It's like a wrecked city. It was like the theme of the game was there was like a Russian re-invasion or something. They were trying to like retake territories or something like that. Very interesting. It's a modern take.
Yeah.
Fine, I'll drop back to the U.S. really fast. Oh, first, U.S. and China. I don't know if we mentioned this on the pod before, but Tony Podesta, I don't think I did. Tony Podesta is now a client of Huawei. Yeah. We've talked about it, but I don't
we've
think
talked about it. But we don't think we did either.
He's a
traitor.
He's a cretin. Yeah.
Hashtag traitor. Yeah, he's been a cretin for a long time, but yeah, unsurprising.
I have another piece of history on here, which I don't really remember because it's already been almost 2 weeks since I wrote this down. The Carnation Revolution. So I'll say what I do remember, which is very little. It was basically like the fall of fascism in Portugal, and it sounded like it was kind of it was like a military coup, but actually what happened was the people joined with the military to kind of end the dictatorship, and they were like took the military side, which I think is I haven't heard many cases like that.
Yeah.
And basically it led to parliamentary elections and a liberalization. It's usually when the military takes control, it's for their own purposes. It's not like it was obviously to remove like a government that they didn't like, but it's rare to see the people joining with the military to take down the government and then
transitioning to democracy.
And then immediately transitioning to democratization.
Yeah, that's not super common.
Yeah. Yeah. So I thought that was a really interesting case, and I wish I remembered more. But I think I did it justice for reading the Wikipedia article 2 weeks ago.
I think that's a fair assessment.
I have a couple of U.S. things. Do you have anything else about?
No, I have U.S. stuff too. So go ahead.
Nina Turner lost.
Yeah, Nina Turner lost. So a lot of that is
she shouldn't have been such an anti-Semite. Just kidding. I'm just joking, obviously.
Her, just like that absolute lad in England.
Who?
Jeremy Corbyn.
Yeah. He looks like Jeremy Corbyn looks Jewish with that white beard.
As a non-Jewish person, I'm not going to comment.
Don't lie.
But yeah, this is just another reminder that people need to, whether you support Nina Turner or not, people, which I personally do, but we need to get money out of politics because it's almost, I mean, you just look at the numbers. There was millions of dollars dumped in that campaign in the last couple weeks, and she was pulling ahead until all that money got dumped.
Well, within the margin of error.
Yeah, it depends on which polls you look at, but yes, it was close, right? So yeah, I mean, there's also if you look at the numbers, until very recently, basically always the candidate with the most money wins.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah, it's a disgusting system. Yeah, and we need to fight to get it out. Hopefully, there's going to be some campaign finance reform if the Democrats grow a spine. The issue with that is they're probably not going to get rid of the filibuster, which is going to be required to pass basically any of this. Like
Hey, well, the past infrastructure.
They did pass infrastructure.
Big old infrastructure bill.
Yeah, and they also passed a $3.5 trillion budget.
That doesn't seem like much.
I think it's specifically for these types of programs. So it's if they can get the partisan infrastructure bill also passed now, and it's over a couple $1 trillion, that will be good. There's a lot of good stuff in there, and by the way, no Republican. It's split on party lines.
One thing in there I just want to say
Yeah.
that I saw, which was weird, is it seems like they mandated that car manufacturers will now have to put breathalyzers in all cars.
Really?
That's what I read, which sounds really weird, right? And if anyone, maybe I'm wrong about this, but I read an article saying that they like squeezed that in the back, that they're going to put breathalyzers in all cars.
Is this in the partisan bill or the bipartisan bill?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
But maybe they don't have like the entire mechanism, but it has to be essentially built into the car in some fashion. So
you can like hook it up if you need to, or
maybe
something?
I'm not really sure, and I couldn't find many details about this, but somebody was like, wow, this was surprising that this was kind of stuffed in the back of the bill.
That is bizarre, but I mean it's not bad. I mean, I don't want people drinking and driving, so it's very strange, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think it's like an assault on our freedoms.
Well, a little bit, but anyways.
I mean, yeah, you could
It's
say
going to
about
raise the cost of
seatbelt-
cars for
you
all
could-
people.
Yeah. Well, then
People who get caught drunk driving should have to foot the entire fucking bill.
well, they should. I mean, they should also be like subsidizing green vehicles and things like that.
Subsidize Uber, folks.
Destroy Uber. Smash that awful non-profiting company into the ground, please.
Let's just have bike lanes in all cities, especially like downtown. Not only bike lanes, but like easy city-run bike rental programs like we have in Kaohsiung, which are excellent
They are excellent, and it's quite cheap.
and totally prevent drunk driving. Like,
The thing is you can also get arrested for drunk driving on a bicycle in a lot of places.
yeah, but I mean, like, the enforcement is totally different, and the penalties are also very different. At least in Taiwan. I don't know America.
Yeah, I think I don't know. It probably varies from state to state, right? Like basically everything. But I know of people that got DUIs for riding bikes drunk in university, which is it's just disgusting.
Missouri's
It's like
a shameful state.
Missouri is a shameful state. Speaking of, fuck Josh Hawley. What a fucking coward. He's talking about how this infrastructure bill, oh, it's just stuffed with critical race theory and all
Buddy
this.
Holly's son, right?
Yeah, that's right. Spelled differently. He changed it so because he wanted to be meritocratic. He wanted to rise on his own merits and lie to the American people and act like there's no actual infrastructure. Meanwhile, the rebuilding of roads and bridges, which are falling apart in Missouri, as someone who has lived there for a large part of their life, in addition to internet
about Buddy Holly?
infrastructure. Internet infrastructure is going to be a huge thing because there are still people in rural Missouri that use satellite internet that is basically unworkable. So you can't work from
cell
home.
phones
Yeah,
because we have no cable connection here.
Yeah,
or
but
phone lines.
I think we
this
could
phone
get it.
doesn't have a phone line built into
This phone doesn't have
this
a phone?
house has no phone cables.
But we could get. I bet we could. Well, phone cables maybe not, but phones are not super necessary.
Phones are so last century.
They are. That's true. We should get a rotary phone though. That would be kind of sick. But
You know, you can get a rotary phone plug-in for your iPhone apparently. Where like the old phones.
yeah,
The what would you even call it? Like the earpiece, the giant earpiece with the speaker.
you're talking about like a satellite phone.
No, like an old phone. Like you would pick up the thing, you'd hold it in your hand. It's got the earpiece on one end and the microphone on the bottom. Like the handle.
Yeah.
And then you can take that and plug it into your smartphone. And use that like a
Look, Grandma, I'm just like you, with my $10,000 iPhone.
show you.
I believe you, man. It's just nonsensical, man. I don't. Whatever. I mean, if people want to do stuff like that, that's fine. I don't really care. It's just such unnecessary capitalism, honestly. And remember, Ari, there's no ethical consumption under capitalism.
All right, Noam Chomsky.
Oh, that's so dumb.
They sell them on Amazon, folks.
Don't buy off Amazon, please. Boycott that company as much as you can.
It's pretty cool.
And Ari's
Go
gonna
on
have one
Taobao.
next week. Definitely don't buy off Taobao.
I'm gonna look so cool.
You should get an old phone and then wire it yourself. Just cut off the headset and wire it. Wire in like a set of headphones into it. You could use like your earbuds and just strip the wiring out and put it up into it.
Yeah, I suppose I could. I don't have any money. It would probably cost the same, honestly, if not more.
But it would be cooler because you did it yourself.
Let's just say I'm a little broke.
Yeah, folks. Speaking of, you can always go to our website. We kind of rely on the ad money there, and then also Patreon if you
click on the ads if you're interested.
If you're interested, and then with also if you just want to give us money and get some cool rewards,
very cool rewards.
Yeah, go to
covered in blood,
all handmade, not covered in blood. All handmade and made in Taiwan. So yeah, we'll send them to you.
You gotta censor
yeah, I know, Ari. Gotta censor that out too. So go to patreon.com/FreeChinaPost, as it's always in the description in the episode. So yeah, but we appreciate any support you guys can send to us.
www.freechinapost.com. Not FreeChinaPod. Don't censor that. What do you think of YouTube suspending?
I think it's trash.
Everyone. Suspending Ron Paul. Was it not Ron Paul? Ron Paul's
Rand Paul.
ugly son, Rand Paul. Suspending Australian Sky News.
I really wish that Rand Paul's neighbor would. There. Now I have one that I have to censor out.
We are not pro-violence, folks.
I'm gonna censor it anyway.
Okay, good.
Don't
know you said something violent.
I can delete your comment. I mean, I don't
Not
really like Rand. I don't really like Rand Paul, but
I got the original. I can edit it and then put it back in.
You could.
I would never do that to you.
I know, because I have the receipts on your ass too. I got lots of stuff you don't want out there.
No, you don't.
I don't like.
I've never said anything bad in my life.
I've only said nice things throughout my entire life. I don't like Rand Paul.
Because of his name?
Yes, mostly. I mostly just want to discriminate against him because of his name.
Was Ayn Paul,
or if his name was Ayn Rand. Then I don't.
That would be weird.
Then I would also hope that his neighbor would.
Rand Atlas Paul.
Rand shrugged. But I didn't see the video of him actually saying it. Everyone's saying that he basically said cloth masks are ineffective, which even the people that authored the study that he was referring to said that that's not true, and that's not the evidence that you should take away from their study. It's that they're less effective, right? Yes, and they are, and I think everyone with a functioning brain will admit that. Like, cloth masks are not as effective, which is why the U.S. should have done like Taiwan did and create places that manufacture surgical masks and distribute them to the population at price controls.
Agreed.
With price controls. Yeah. But I don't know. What do you think? He's the only one that I heard. Who else got banned recently that was like
Sky
a big
News.
name? What did they get banned for? You told me, but I forgot.
I forgot what specifically. They got labeled as misinformation. I think they said something about. I honestly don't remember.
Okay.
But it's obviously something COVID related.
Yeah, it seems to be what everyone's getting banned for recently.
I think it was something to do with the vaccines and their level of efficacy.
Yeah, I would have to look at the exact details to see if I was on board with that. I mean, if you're saying that like certain vaccines are less effective and you're using studies to show that, there's nothing wrong with that. It's literally stating facts. It's ridiculous. But I also think that people who are screaming, who are literally pushing disinformation, those people,
like
yeah,
Joe Rogan
like
recently. He's
yeah.
like, yeah, a couple people have died in Australia of COVID.
Yeah, a couple hundred.
970 something.
Yeah.
It's just like a couple. That's, yeah, Joe Rogan, I think you need to fire Jamie. I think he belongs in Guantanamo also.
Bye-bye, young Jamie. I think that people, when they watch Rogan, need to do so with a very critical lens, because he's very ignorant on a lot topics. That's what I'll say. That's what I'll say. I don't think
like
he's
a little thing about PBS.
Yeah.
It's like the government should create a news organization where people are paid a salary and they're not given bonuses based on how sensational they write, and it would be subsidized.
We could call it the broadcasting publicly system or something like that. I don't know. I haven't figured it out.
Please check out PBS. Joe
Yeah,
Rogan.
yeah.
It's this new thing. It's really cool.
It's crazy. It's almost exactly what you described. It's weird.
There's an audio alternative. It's almost like a podcast, Joe Rogan. It's called National Public Radio, NPR for short.
Wow. And people talk like this a lot on there. They say, "Welcome to NPR."
Yeah, they're a little bit too soft for my liking.
Yeah, soft-bodied liberals.
My local NPR station used to play smooth jazz at night, and it would drive me off the wall because I would be like, it was like at 8 p.m. So I'd like leave the house to go get groceries, and I'd be like, okay, I'll listen to the news on the way there, and it's like either Katy Perry or smooth jazz.
Gross.
We have a lot of channels, but not a lot of good ones. So.
I pretty much exclusively listened to Christian radio broadcasting in high school on my
CBR.
On my Ford truck radio. Yeah, I didn't even agree with it. I was just like listening to it to see what like they thought, and then I would just get angry a lot of times.
That's why I listen to the Joe Rogan, because you're like, why are you listening to that?
I mean,
just to see what people think.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's only so much of it I can take at one sitting, though.
Yeah, I couldn't listen to that one lady, the ultra liberal, who was like talking about how great it was to live in Iran, and
oh yeah.
I should listen to that. I should just suck it up and have a beer and
yeah,
just deal with it, just to know what crazy people who spread information sound like, because I wouldn't know anything about that. I know nothing about that, folks.
I don't know what you're talking about, folks. Sounds like you're calling me fake news. That's not true. You're fake news. Oh man,
we gotta have like a little satire. A little satire warning in the intro, just in case we ever spread any misinformation.
I mean, people know. We say it all the time, and if people don't know that, I mean, if you're a new listener, just realize that we write mostly straight stories on the website, and we try to
100%. Everything is cited.
Well, it's not. I don't mean not like. I don't mean like sensational or anything. Obviously,
Fake
everything's
news.
cited. What I mean is like it's more straight news. It's like more traditional, especially yours. Mine is. I mean, I'm a dumb guy and a bad writer. So mine are more like I try to spice it up with some fun language and like silly shit. But it's obviously all cited. But I mean, the podcast is obviously we like to keep it more relaxed and have a little fun with it. So
We don't have Jamie here.
if you don't like jokes, folks, bye bye.
Young Jamie.
Oh man,
We don't have enough money for like a fact checker to get information wrong here anyways, so
yeah, we can't hire anyone.
we can't hire anyone to help us lie, so
Sorry, folks.
just assume everything is true, and if you're curious about it, please check the information. If something sounds wrong, feel free to contact us.
Yeah,
and
double check it.
We're happy to issue rectifications, corrections.
We have before.
Yeah, we have
We've
before.
done it before when we slightly misstated or we're here to be truthful, folks. We're the truth tellers.
Sorry, Kim Jong-un, for all the misinformation we spread before. Oh, New York City, the mandates. What do you think of those? Since they don't have any mask mandates apparently, but they have the vaccine or test mandates. I think it's only vaccine, but I don't know.
What's the mandate?
From what I understand, you need to show like proof of vaccination or a negative test, or is that it? Yeah, vaccination or a negative test in order to get in any public establishment like a restaurant or a gym or like a comedy club or something like that. I may be mistaken on this, and there may not be the alternative of showing a negative test. You might have to show that you've been vaccinated. And from what I understand, they still haven't reinstated the mask mandates.
Yeah.
So they're like, vaccines are work 100% of the time.
Yeah.
Masks are ineffective.
Just ask Israel, folks.
Yeah. So exactly. So it's that's a kind of dangerous thing to be doing, I think.
Also, this affects a smaller portion of the population, but it affects people close to me, and I think that it's important for people to think about.
Not everyone can get vaccines.
Exactly. Yeah. Not everyone can get vaccinated, so
Absolutely.
they need to at least include negative tests as a possibility to go to some of these events. And obviously, there needs to be mask mandates. Like, it's idiotic to think if we just I mean, we already have the evidence, like I said, from Israel. Like, vaccines work, folks, but they're not like a solvent, especially when these troglodytes, especially in America, all over the world though, run around maskless and let their kids go to school without masks, breathing, spitting in each other's faces, and create these stronger and stronger variants.
What I've seen that was interesting is that there's been some conservative pushback against governors who have tried to make state mandates saying that local school districts cannot.
Yeah, cannot mandate. I know
Washington
Texas
Examiner.
Texas has had cases of that. At least people
Florida too, right?
trying to push for it in Florida too. That's right.
So some of the local school districts are saying this is like the opposite of conservatism, to basically have the central power telling the localities what they are and aren't allowed to do. So I thought that has been interesting, that because they are, I mean, those governors, in order to like make a statement, are actually going against what I would consider the old Republican principles of like local domain. So
it's going to be interesting to see, because there have been a number of Republicans basically coming out and saying they like totally regret getting rid of the mask mandates.
It's a stupid idea, and
It is, yeah.
now a lot of liberals are jumping in bed with that, like Bill de Blasio, basically saying that.
Yeah.
And shit, I mean Bloomberg, which I would say is like a New York liberal elite magazine.
Yeah, liberal
Newspaper.
elite. Yeah, elite being the key word there.
They have published so many editorials basically saying, forget masks, we need vaccines for everyone. It's like, okay, let me give you an interesting example, because I wrote this in an article last week. Do you know what the population, I may have asked you this, the population in Hong Kong over 65, what % are vaccinated? Over 65.
I would
like in
just-
Taiwan, it's like 80, 90%.
It's 80, yeah, it's almost fully vaccinated. Over 65, I would say 57%.
How about over 85?
Over 85,
Yeah.
50%.
So you think it's lower for over 85? I'm just asking.
I don't know. These are just guesses, honestly.
28%.
Woo!
Yeah.
That is very low.
Well,
But
the reason is that they only have the Chinese vaccine. So not only are old people... Actually, that's not true anymore. Now they also have access to Pfizer, and they're still not getting it. So not only are old people skeptical, were originally skeptical, and are still skeptical of taking the Chinese vaccine, now they have Pfizer. A lot of it is physicians advising older people, like, if you have any if you have any pre-existing conditions, if you have high blood pressure, if you recently broke your hip, don't get the vaccine.
wow.
So doctors in Hong Kong are en masse advising old people not to get the vaccine, which is like the opposite of every other country.
Right.
It's a really weird case.
That is weird. That is very weird.
Because in Taiwan, it's like astoundingly high. Usually the older segments are more vaccinated.
Well, yeah, because they vaccinate them first. Taiwan definitely did a push for older people, and then obviously like key sectors like
I think the United States too. I think all countries.
most
do.
most of them do, because you're
Hong Kong is the
more
opposite.
you're more likely to die. I mean, yeah. I think for young people, I don't know if this is the majority of people. This is anecdotal, but my friends there, probably most of them would say probably like, if it means I can go back to work, I'll get the vaccine, because the Chinese vaccine it has a very low efficacy anyway, and they're not that scared of it. They haven't seen like people dying en masse, so they're just like,
Of
whatever,
the vaccine or
whatever
COVID?
of the vaccine. It's not like it's
In Hong Kong, they did have a spate of deaths after the initial vaccination started, which also scared people.
yeah. I saw there was some, mostly older people though, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, I think young people have a little bit of like an invincibility complex, like they think that nothing can hurt them. It's also probably lends itself to that, but people just want to get back to work. I know one of Matthew, who's been on the podcast before, who I'm trying to get back on, but with national security laws, it's fucking dangerous. So
I got a Hong Konger here. I can ask.
I have my other Hong Kong friend in, I won't even say the city, in Taiwan as well. So maybe we can get him.
I have
on
one in
too.
Kaohsiung.
All right, get him on.
I'll ask him.
Okay. Yeah, because it's but anyway, he was saying basically he just wanted to get back to work because he hadn't been able to go to work and didn't have any money, and Hong Kong is like very, very expensive, obviously. So yeah. So I wonder if that's one of the reasons why younger people have been getting it more.
Well, I mean, depends on the vaccine technology. So for the Chinese vaccines, Sinovac and I believe Sinopharm as well use.
Attenuated, right?
I think it's inactivated.
Oh,
But essentially, if you have a stronger immune system, which means if you're younger, then you'll probably be okay with those vaccines.
right.
The problem is in people with impaired immune systems, so older people. The other vaccine technologies, it's the opposite, where it's usually people with very active immune systems that seem to have problems. I know with the AstraZeneca vaccine, which were causing the blood clots
Yeah.
and platelet issues, and then the mRNA vaccines, which were causing myocarditis.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm still not sure about the mechanism for the mRNA vaccines because it's a weird one. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm very hopeful. Just to say, for the Taiwan vaccine, because I was talking about this recently, that if you look at all the different vaccine technologies, ignoring the inactivated or attenuated viruses, if you look at protein subunit, mRNA, and genetically modified adenovirus, which is protein subunit would be like the Taiwanese vaccines, which is not Biogen, Medigen. mRNA, which would be like Pfizer and Moderna, and then genetically modified adenoviruses, which would include Johnson and Johnson or Janssen.
Janssen and Janssen.
No, Janssen is like the other name for it, because like Janssen actually created it, or the AstraZeneca. Each of those have like are different levels of complexity, right? So with the protein subunit, you're just injecting the protein.
Right.
With the mRNA virus, you're injecting genetic material, which will hopefully create the protein in a proper form.
Right.
So you've got 2 steps for failure there if the protein is bad. With the genetically modified adenovirus, you've got the virus itself, you've got it injecting its DNA, you've got the DNA being converted to mRNA, being transported out of the nucleus to go produce the protein, which will hopefully be in the right form. It's like adding increasing levels of complexity. There's no wonder that you're going to have like weird issues occurring when you create such complex vaccines. So
Yeah.
simplest is usually the best solution, even though it might be a little bit longer than like plugging some genetically modified material into some virus and then shooting it into bodies. Like from what I read, I mean, they created Moderna in like 2 days or something like that.
That's
like
pretty quick.
yeah, and two fucking days. AstraZeneca is something like 23 days or something like that.
Yeah.
So like, is it really? I don't know. Is it really so bad to like consider some different vaccine technologies and say that having a diversity is better?
I would say science would say you should study all of them and keep the best one.
Yeah.
I mean, if you really care about science, you would look at what's most effective and then copy that. It is hard because once you start producing these vaccines, it's definitely difficult to like switch and manufacture some completely different one. But
That's the problem of these private companies.
that's right.
Not our problem.
Take them over.
You were gonna say something before I went on my diatribe.
I don't remember. Anyway, there's some other stuff that I want to say, but we'll just do another pod soon. I do hope that they pass the PRO Act, especially with like all these laws that they're trying to pass, basically making it easier and easier for corporations to essentially label workers as not employees but independent contractors, and thus take away all of their rights as employees. It's disgusting, and if the Democrats don't want to get slapped around in the midterms, then they need to get rid of the filibuster and they need to pass some of these things, including the voter rights protection bills that they have and the PRO Act. It's not negotiable anymore. The infrastructure is great.
Non-negotiable, folks.
It's been really good to see the infrastructure, but if you don't pass the PRO Act, you don't help the workers. They're not gonna fucking vote for you, dum-dums. So yeah, I hope they pull their heads out of their asses and get something passed, but we'll see. Write your Congress people, folks. Write your senators. Tell them to end the filibuster. Or honestly, they could also just basically amend it and make it so you can pass any law about workers' rights through reconciliation. Yes, they can do that.
I wrote an article about one of the senators who died recently. He was actually responsible because in I think it was 2005, the Republicans were basically threatening to scrap the filibuster so that they could get their budget passed or something like that. And he was part of this bipartisan group that was like, no, we don't need to scrap the filibuster. We can get around this. We can get a compromise bill through. So it's I mean, this isn't the first time that they've talked about scrapping it, but
it's technically true. I mean, if they don't want to, if they're so worried about the filibuster, which it's all nonsense. It
is nonsense. So that's what they were saying, is that basically they're able to change it because constitutionally all of the Senate rules can be created by the Senate with a simple majority vote.
Right. So
they can rewrite the rules.
They could change it. They could, because right now you get basically like you get like 3 shots at reconciliation. 3 strikes, folks. 3 shots at reconciliation. Doing lots of Trump voice today. That's arbitrary. They can just change it. You can make it so voting rights acts can be passed through reconciliation.
And the filibuster. And the filibuster
I agree. Yeah, it's undemocratic. And also,
It's arbitrary. It's a lot of people are like, it's part of the Constitution. It's not.
It's not.
It's just.
It's not. Well, here's the other thing too. Kirsten Sinema, who I hope loses. I hope she never serves in public office.
Is it
again.
Kristen or Kirsten?
I don't know. I always call her Kristen. I think it is Kirsten or Kirsten. I'm not sure. That stupid idiot. Nasty woman. She was going on talking about, well, what happens if we end the filibuster and then the Republicans come in and they're in charge and they remove the voting rights that because they were talking
pass common rights gun control.
Oh hell yeah, brother! Because they were
What did I
talking
say? Common rights, common sense.
common sense. Yeah, well, the Republicans wouldn't do that.
Maybe they would. You never know. Give them a chance, folks.
Well, if Antifa and people start showing up with guns, I think they will.
A terrorist organization.
That's possible. But anyway, to finish my point real quick, they're supposed to be passing this HR1, which would basically be a big push for voting rights. It would get rid of a lot of this partisan gerrymandering, et cetera, et cetera. It would also help to reform campaign finance and make it much clearer. So at least it's not perfect, but it's a step in the right direction. She's basically saying, well, we can't pass that because we can't end the filibuster, because if we do that, then the Republicans will just come back and pass anti-voting rights acts. Well, it's like, well, listen, if you don't pass the voting rights bills in the first place, you're not going to fucking win anymore, because they're getting ready to do redistricting and you are going to get gerrymandered to shit. Like,
That's an interesting
it's
point.
short-sighted, man. It's incredibly short-sighted. And my other point about the filibuster is, fine, if the Republicans are going to do that, they're going to do that. They get most of their agenda passed anyway.
That's true.
So, listen, mask off. Let them do it. If they get a majority, everyone will know that they are fucking ghouls and goblins, just like they know that a lot of the Democratic parties is a bunch of ghouls and goblins. So let's just do it then. Let's just be
show
honest.
our ghoul faces.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I don't want to rant too long, but write your representatives and tell them to end this
For
nonsense.
people in America.
Yeah, for people in America.
That's all I got.
Me too. All right. We love you, folks. Make sure to go do all the social media stuff. Support us if you can. We love you. Bye-bye. FCP最大